Hello everyone, in this video I'll be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Samina Pasha to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let's go through the key developments and insights in Samina Pasha's words. The news is important because although Aleema Khan Sahiba's sons have been arrested, the reaction that has emerged to this arrest, the narrative that has formed, has become uncontrollable. A significant amount of pressure has mounted. We will discuss this in detail. After that, we will also talk about some other issues. Murad Saeed Sahab released a video message today. We will discuss that too. Rana Sanola Sahab's comments regarding a new province and the 27th Amendment will also be discussed. And then today, Justice Athar Minala Sahab said quite a lot during a ceremony. All of this will be part of today's vlog. I request you to please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So first of all, let's talk about the arrests of Imran Khan's nephews and Aleema Khan Sahiba's sons and the way in which these arrests were carried out. There has been a severe backlash. Not only did a storm erupt on social media, but the mainstream media also debated this extensively. The government appeared completely answerless, no responses, no justification, unable to defend itself. Even journalists generally considered government sympathizers seemed to have raised their hands in helplessness, not knowing what excuse to present to justify this arrest, neither legally nor morally. Why? Because there was simply no logic. The person they arrested was not even related to the events of that day, was not even present there. He was in Chitral at the time, with all the evidence and timeline proving his whereabouts. Yet suddenly, after 2 years, he is picked up under the claim that he was involved in actions on May 9th. This naturally sparked a strong backlash. And let me tell you today, this is a huge blunder by the government. Whoever decided this basically shot themselves in the foot. As the saying goes, when Allah decrees disgrace for someone, He doesn't need to strike them, He simply takes away their sense. That is what has happened here. Their sense has deserted them. Every step they take seems more foolish, disgraceful, and humiliating than the last. This was another such move. One day they arrested one son and the next day the other. What clearer example of political victimization could there be? After 2 years, suddenly they storm into someone's home and arrest both sons without clear evidence yet still secure remand. This is indefensible. After this fiasco, the government then scrambled to find a way to manage the fallout. Perhaps even their own loyalists must have told them, "Why are you making us look foolish? How can we defend this on talk shows?" So the government decided to craft a narrative. They released a video splicing together different clips, trying to show that Aleema Khan's sons, Shah and Sharif, had participated in violent incidents on May 9th. In one video, Sharif is walking with his family, wearing a PTI muffler, Aleema Khan Sahiba walking beside him. They attached this to footage of fires and violence from May 9th. They also added a clip of Hassan Niazi making a speech atop a vehicle with Shah beside him. But simply being present with someone does not prove guilt. If that is the standard, then Andlib Abbas should also be guilty, because she was in the same vehicle as Khadija Shah, who faced imprisonment and trial. Yet Andlib Abbas faces no trial. Why? If suspicion existed, why did authorities stay silent for 2 years while these individuals freely appeared at public events? Suddenly now, they claim guilt. And the video they used against Sharif was quickly exposed. It was from a PTI rally in Kanhua in 2024, where he attended with family. The full video, widely available from journalists and attendees, shows it clearly. They had simply cut out a portion and falsely tied it to May 9th. Social media exposed this within minutes. What's more, all TV channels were given identical tickers and wording, proof that it was orchestrated from above. Editors in different newsrooms would normally use different phrasing, but here everything was uniform, revealing the game being played. It was simply a drama staged to cover up the government's blunder. Then, to make things worse, Hassan Ayub Sahab appeared on Azad Digital and made further revelations. He claimed that Sharif was involved in sending talking points against Pakistan to Indian channels via a person named Samad, who then appeared on Indian TV. In other words, he accused Sharif of treachery and running anti-Pakistan propaganda. Think about the level of discourse here. When criticised for arresting an athlete who represents Pakistan internationally, the government supporters resorted to smearing him as a traitor. This is a disgraceful mentality, branding anyone critical as a traitor. And even if someone appears on an Indian channel to give their viewpoint, does that automatically make them anti-Pakistan? Indian journalists have appeared on Pakistani TV many times. Does that make them traitors to India? For instance, Barker Dutt even visited Raiwind and met Nawaz Sharif personally. Does that make her a traitor? Of course not. Internationally, media exchanges and appearances are common. The words spoken on a channel are the responsibility of the speaker, not of someone allegedly feeding them lines. Yet here, baseless allegations are thrown about just to tarnish someone's image. But once again, social media quickly tore apart these claims, exposing the lies, showing the real dates and context of videos. Amnesty International South Asia also demanded the immediate release of Imran Khan's nephews, condemning the arrests as inhumane and clear political victimization. Jemima Goldsmith also tweeted today. She wrote about how her son's cousins, that is Imran Khan's nephews, Sharif and Sher Shah, were arrested and how they were handed over on remand. She mentioned this whole matter in her tweet and also added that in the same way her own sons had once been threatened that if they came to Pakistan to meet their father, they too could be arrested. So Jemima Goldsmith once again made this threat public on Twitter. And you know, whenever Jemima tweets, it always gets a huge reaction. Lots of retweets, and then the whole world gets to see what blunders this government is making and how foolish and short-sighted the people in power really are, completely unable to foresee the consequences of their actions. Now this will create even more pressure on them, and you will see it will become increasingly difficult for them to manage. Soon, they will be forced to release the boys, and along with that, they will face heaps of humiliation. That is the present situation. As for Rana Sanola Sahab, as I mentioned in the previous video, he said regarding May 9th that the punishments being given are completely justified. He claimed those arrested really did all of this. Secondly, while speaking about negotiations, he said, "We are told we are not allowed to negotiate, so we will neither bypass anyone to hold negotiations, nor will we allow anyone else to hold negotiations." Now, these are two very loaded, double-meaning statements. On the one hand, he's saying they won't engage in talks without taking the establishment and other stakeholders into confidence. On the other hand, he's warning that they also won't allow anyone else to hold direct talks with political parties without them. So it was basically a veiled warning. Another of his remarks was very important. He said, "Our government is absolutely unserious about the 27th Amendment and the creation of new provinces," meaning, he said, these are not their priorities at all. Neither a constitutional amendment nor new provinces. This statement, coming right after his meeting with Nawaz Sharif the day before, seems to suggest that this is their official reply for now, that they are not pursuing these matters. But we'll have to wait and see what response comes from the other side, because the reality is, in their current position, PMLN doesn't have the real public mandate or power to say no outright. Nor does PPP. Neither party has the mass support needed, yet they are trying to raise their heads a little, hinting that they won't go along. The outcome could be one of two things. Either they'll be forced to comply under pressure, or they'll eventually bow their heads and say, "At that time we weren't serious, but now we will go ahead with this in the larger national interest," though with some reservations. In either case, the matter will move forward one way or another. Now, about Justice Atta Minala. Today he attended a ceremony, and while speaking on human rights and the issue of missing persons, he seemed visibly upset. He said that the most important matter in the country today is human rights. And he had repeatedly drawn the attention of the then Chief Justice Qazi Faiz Issa towards this. But, unfortunately, nothing was done. He said we need judges who are truly free, independent and fearless. Judges who can uphold the standard of justice and deliver verdicts according to the Constitution and law without fear. The implication, of course, is that the judges at present are not doing so. He also said, "We feel ashamed, particularly while referring to the families of missing persons, especially the women from Balochistan who have been sitting on a roadside in Islamabad for nearly 35 to 40 days. Nobody from the government goes to meet them, nobody covers them, And yet they sit there in the rain, heat and storms. Athar Minala said he feels ashamed seeing mothers and sisters in such a state, ignored and unheard. He stressed that the issue of missing persons must be resolved. Amina Masood Janjwa Sahiba was also standing nearby while he spoke. Overall, his focus was on 2 points. First, the judiciary is not independent, and second, there are massive violations of human rights. He raised burning questions. Is there rule of law in the country today? Is there democracy in the country? Of course, critics also point out that he himself shares responsibility for the current situation. For example, when Nawaz Sharif was sent abroad, he too had insisted there was no guarantee Nawaz Sharif's life wouldn't be in danger, so he must be allowed to go. Then, on the night of the regime change, as Chief Justice of Islamabad High Court, he had the court opened at midnight in case a petition was filed to prevent General Bajwa's removal. Later, when Imran Khan dissolved provincial assemblies, he too didn't play a major role in enforcing elections. So yes, there were mistakes. His, Justice Mansour Ali Shah's and others. Many remained silent or covertly supported Justice Qazi Fayez Isa, and the whole country paid the price, not just the judiciary. And even now, we continue to suffer the consequences. After Qazi Fayez Isa came to power, there have been no limits. He pushed things too far. Today, who knows where he even is? Still, Atta Minala appears to recognize the damage now. Perhaps in the past he failed to understand fully, but now he sees what has happened to his institution, to himself and to the people of Pakistan. Finally, regarding Murad Saeed Sahab's video message, he said from Karachi's Sohrab Goth area that they will hold a peace jirga. But this raises questions. What does a jirga in Karachi have to do with the ongoing operation in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? Sohrab Goth does have a large Pashtun population, but still, it's not clear what impact this will have. Earlier, his tweets hinted at something else, marching toward Islamabad or a concrete plan of action. But suddenly, he shifted and now talks of holding a jirga in Karachi. What difference will that make? What impact? I don't know what's in his mind. His message also included the usual points about oppression and injustice in the country, but I must say this. Earlier, whenever Murad Saeed released a message or even a tweet, it carried weight, respect and impact. Workers owned it, but now, slowly, that impact is fading. Why? Because people always respect those who act fearlessly in difficult times. Heroes are remembered as those who lead from the front, who light the way during hardships. But if one retreats into silence or limits oneself only to tweets, the impact fades. In the beginning, people valued social media voices. But when tweets produce no real results, people lose faith. Those abroad keep fighting online, those inside Pakistan do what they can, but is this delivering the required outcomes? The immediate goals? Getting Imran Khan released, restoring constitutional rule, achieving PTI's manifesto? None of that has been achieved. In fact, difficulties have only increased. So yes, the movement is alive, the narrative continues, and the regime is certainly under pressure. But the key goals remain unachieved. That wraps up our translation of Samina Pasha's video. I hope this English version helped you understand her message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.